Yeah.
But that's what I've traveled a lot. So immediately when I get into real estate, everybody thinks HGTV, vacation homes, and all this stuff. And I feel like what's sad about that is that everybody's being sold something that is already stupid from the beginning. If you're a millionaire, you got 20 million in the bank, just turn it off. You probably don't even need advice. But for me, it's like everybody got sold in the 50s after the wars and everything. Everybody got sold to buy a house and have this dream and then buy another one. I mean, it was the perfect marketing pitch, and it did to a certain extent when houses were 60 grand. It did make sense, and when wages were increasing at the same rate. But it just seems like now you can't work your way out of it. You can only invest your way out of it. And so to start out with a debt, which is what I would call what I bought, was even though it was an investment, I rehabbed it and I could rent it. It was a heck of a safe investment, but I would still call it a liability all day long, opposed to what you bought, which was an actual asset, which now is just ripening up to. Yeah.
Right. Or mine is turning itself, or I'm turning it from a liability into an asset now, because for those of you who don't know, a real simple way to determine between a liability and an asset is a liability takes money out of your pocket every month. You may think your home's an asset, but until it's putting money in your pocket every month, it's a liability. So that's the difference. Asset puts money in your pocket, liability takes money out of your pocket. And even if someday your liability is going to turn into an asset, you still have to treat it like a liability until that day.
Right, and so many people just get this all backwards. And even on top of that, the income that you make off your building is treated different than, say, your income at work or.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's not considered the same type of income, so it's taxed differently.
And something that maybe a lot of people don't know, maybe they do know, that their federal income tax or their state income tax that they're paying is the highest taxed income. Your capital gains or your passive income, or your nearly passive income, those are taxed at much lower rates than your actual working wage income. Which really, I think if a lot of people really understood that, they would stop thinking about the potential for income through investing as so much a risk, but really it's a benefit in so many ways. And just educating yourself, going to the library and taking out a book, or going to the bookstore and buying a book, or going online and just doing some research takes, maybe you'll do one day of research in some type of asset class that you're really interested in, and that one day of research, having known nothing before, is going to take 90% of the risk out of the equation. You are the riskiest part of the investment.
You're betting on yourself,
not the investment itself.
Right.
So if you can just take that time and learn about it, and which we absolutely want to help you do that.
Right.
Because we've both, I don't know how many books we've read between the two of us.
It's a good bit. And
a lot of books.
It's an always adapting thing because the code changes. I know we just had a major IRS battle won on the side of real estate professionals. Because I think basically what you're saying is the biggest expense of your life is taxes. They have that really popular saying that everybody loves, the death of taxes.
Yeah.
And you look at other countries in the world, and it couldn't be. There isn't a better place in the United States when it comes to. They actually subsidize housing the same way they subsidize corn. And I don't know if you've seen that, but even if you don't grow corn, they're still going to pay you with these packs that they do with these farmers. So what's fascinating is that you can pretty much take all the risk out of investing using insurance, a little bit of education, and then working with professionals so that if things go bad, they're not bailing chip on you. And most of the times I see problems, it's that the person who's involved loses it. They're the ones it's not that we quit on them or anything, it's they quit on themselves. Which is intense because you watch it and you're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, but that's all they can make sense of, which is, I think, we've all been there. It's just part of the process, but you have to, keep it moving because really, like you're saying, say you have a job, regular job, 30% tax right off the bat in the United States, which is, to me, just astounding because for the,
Even if you fall into just a 20% tax bracket,
yeah.
you're still paying the Medicaid or the Medicare on top of that.
Mhm.
The other ones that they throw on there, which are a couple percent apiece. It's
Plus
not
property
just the
taxes,
income
plus-
tax, it's
yeah.
the other ones too.
So I think what was interesting about the IRS battle that was just won is that anybody can become a real estate professional. That's not what I am as a real estate agent. A real estate professional tax status with the IRS is a distinction that is you're an investor in property and the government will subsidize you doing that. And it is merely an hours requirement. So it's 750 material hours, which on your building would be a little bit tough to do on one building. And so what's nice about it is if you're in construction.
What do you mean by that 750 material hours?
Say you're dealing with tenants, anything you do on the building, you just log hours until you hit something.
Okay.
You have to hit 750.
So yeah, for my duplex, that would equate to a really bad year if I logged 700.
Yeah, you'd be busy, which maybe
Yeah,
last year
absolutely.
could have counted for because you did a lot of
Because
time.
there was a lot of renovations last year.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
And
this
that
year,
does count.
probably not so much.
What most people don't know about that is that works for contractors. And I think that's fascinating. So whether you're in, I'm not sure if mortgages qualify, but it's definitely real estate agents, property managers, and contractors all day long. Anything you do in that sector, so it's easier for me to get those hours than it would be for somebody who owns the building. But the only thing is it has to be your primary source of income. So a lot of times we'll have somebody's wife do it. They have like a part-time job, and they'll go to basically be the manager of the property.
Uh-huh.
And they'll watch it and just do all the phone calls. It's not that, and you were also talking that you can take a lot of the ownership of managing the property. I know you have, and we'll do it all for you. I mean, that's part of the live free. We'll do it all for you, but it's gonna save you some money to do some of it yourself, and some of it's just time consuming. It's not hard. It's not scary, it's not difficult, it's just that maybe you just pass that, you don't want to do it,
Right.
And we all hope to be there someday and truly live free.
I
And
think I do believe that is the goal of most real estate investors,
Yeah.
especially income property, rental property, is to get to a point where you can phase out the management part of it, and you can just work on just finding the good deals. And then once you have that solid foundation, then it only costs you, typically either the first month's rent or 10% of each month's rent or something like that. It's a very minimal cost. If you have good properties that are performing well, you take your time, you find the right deals, then I really don't think that it's out of anyone's reach to get to that point.
well, I also think when people are searching, they think that these deals are few and far between, which is absurd to me.
Yeah.
Every day there's a new one. It's just that maybe it's the opportunity cost compared to other deals like it. And that just takes some experience and being in the market and swimming for a little bit to understand what's what.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's another thing that we can definitely help you with here is really just taking the time with you to analyze a property. And because one thing that you got to do is you got to take your emotion out of it. You can't just look at the picture and say, I don't like that one. You got to look at everything. You got to say, okay, I'm going to put these numbers here, do the math, and then say, does this property make sense financially? Not, do I like this property? Would this be fun to manage? Because for me, anyway, I don't think any property is going to be fun to manage.
Right.
But I'll absolutely do it if it makes sense for me to financially manage it. And we can definitely help you with that. That's part of what we do. We're developing tools to really streamline that process on a local level to even more so help you take the risk out of your investment. Again, our whole purpose for being here today is just to give you an idea of what we are working towards and the tools that we're developing to really help you, the local New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts investor, just really break down the markets for you. So you don't have to go through all that legwork. We can tell you, okay, in this market over here, we've already gone through the legwork, we've analyzed this market.
So the Live Free Realty site, the key there is that one of my favorite features is that it's completely mobile. I don't know if you've tried to use a site that's not mobile for searching, but we have a map search on there that I really like because you can actually
awesome.
physically see what's changing, which is kind of an interesting, we didn't used to do it that way, so it's kind of cool because often everything's searched in just a statistical form. You don't even know where it is till you get into it. And the searches are all free, which is, I think, key to opening it up so that, you can start learning about this stuff before you actually go shopping. And I think a lot of that preparation happens when you really start looking at properties and you see how fast they go. You start to get your expectations in order, and it really does take a little bit of watching. It takes a little bit of getting up every morning and kind of just seeing what's changed, what's going on, getting a feel for how the market works. And of course, it's different for every type of property, but it gives you an idea, and you can set yourself up for automatic updates. You don't even have to look actively once you set the parameters. And that's one of my favorite parts. I mean, you can get right in there and you have just as much control as I do with my paid realtor services. So, and it's not really a threat to us because everything we do it doesn't even really start until we make that first offer. That's only the beginning of our job. So, I feel like a lot of realtors, and especially the older they are, they're really attached to being monopoly men about information. And what we're trying to do is help you literally think of your life moving as living free, because today more than ever, I think it's more important than ever, and especially with all the different opportunities that are out there, it would just be foolish not to take advantage of it, learn about it, and really anybody can do this. So I think what we're trying to do is bring to your attention everything you need to know, give you some good tips, and help you understand the difference between nonsense ads and actual factual information that's based on reality.
Absolutely. And the other thing that we're really trying to do with our website and our podcast and our blog, and we're going to have forums up eventually, hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah.
We want this to be very interactive. We want to know what you're going through. We want to be full disclosure with what we're going through.
Yeah.
We're both learning still. We're growing in our investing, and we want your input. We want to be able to give you our input. We want to share our experience as we navigate the real estate market.
It's definitely true. I've been in the real estate my entire life, but I've been licensed for 5 years, and I learn something new every day. It's without fail.
Every time I buy a new book, or anytime I go online and just start researching real estate, absolutely, it's mind-blowing how much there is to learn. And if we all work together, we all interact with each other, we can really build a solid network, a solid community, and just really turn this into just a benefit for everyone. And that's really what this is all about.
Well, a lot of people come into this, especially in the industry, have a scarcity mindset, and that's kind of what it is. It's kind of like a hunter, fisher, gatherer sort of mentality when it comes to that type of sales. And so what we've really tried to do is build a system that it kind of builds abundance as we go. Because I used to sell a lot of stuff before I sold real estate, and even when I first went in to do residential real estate, if you don't love what you sell, it's not a very rewarding system. And I feel like what's amazing about what we're talking about here is that, I've never had a client who's bought this, it hasn't come back to do more, because once they realize it, why wouldn't you? You can pay, if you can pay $1 to make 5, why wouldn't you?
I did a brief stint in sales, and I did not love it. I was miserable. And it's not because I don't like sales. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with the sales industry. It's because I did not believe in my product. I felt like I was pushing a undesirable or unnecessary product on people, and I couldn't get into it. I couldn't love what I was doing. Ever since I started really learning about real estate, and even though I don't sell real estate, or I'm not a real estate agent, I absolutely believe in this, and I know Steve does not feel the stresses while he's moving his product that I did when I was trying to move my product, because real estate is just proven. It's absolutely proven, and it sells itself if people educate themselves about it.
Yeah, and so we're just trying to give you all the information so you can do it. Don't just take our word for it. There's plenty of great information out there, but there's also, a lot of like rule of thumb things. It's just like when you hear about those things like put snow on frostbite. And it's like, that seems like a really dumb old wives' tale, but still people do it. And then you hear about the tenant who's gonna call you at midnight. And I've had that happen once in my life, and there was a serious issue. It was an actual issue, it wasn't nonsense. It was actually good they called us, because it would have went much worse if they hadn't. And so I think people really have this odd expectation that their lives are gonna change in a bad way. When I would say, if anything, you have the potential to have it change in the most unbelievable way. And it's not passive, but it's about as passive as you can get without it being a scam. That's what I think the factor is like, would you be willing to put up with a little bit of stuff to get a lot of back, and especially in a way that you can't in there's really only so many things that you can do. You can have a business, and businesses are really hard, you're competing. Or you can come into this investment side where you're not really competing the same way. Maybe for that particular deal, but the market is ever changing, ever open, and there's always more room for it. So I feel very optimistic that it's not so much an adversarial thing, because it is so fragmented that we all kind of have to help each other. There's a lot of experience, and there's a lot of different sides of things. And so we try to we're going to try to bring in people to talk to you about it with their own opinions. And I know we're going to try to get my father on. He's been doing it for almost 30 years now. And I know in our lives, the only reason that we've been very successful financially was not just because of our business. It was because of what we did with the money that we made from the business and buying the income properties. I wouldn't have been able to go to college. We have a lake house, all paid for by buildings. And the residual income off of those. And so that was a big wake-up call for me, because I saw a lot of people when I graduated at UNH that still owed college debt, which is non-dischargeable. It's like, what do they call it? It's a mortgage without a house. Right. And even with a good degree, it's not a guarantee. And I think people rush out to go do that, but they won't go buy an income property, because they're scared about a tenant calling them.
Yeah.
No kidding. That's just absurd.
I mean, you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to get an education. How many people do you know that have a lot of student loan debt and are not working anywhere near the field that their degree is associated with? I know a ton of people that are in that predicament.
I was going to say everybody under 30, right?
Yeah, everybody under 30. Yeah, and, I would never say don't go to college.
Well, it's not that. But you got to know why you're going. You're going to network, and you're going to
My point is just weighing the risk of investing in a college education, investing in a degree, as opposed to, the facets of the real estate income property industry are much smaller than deciding before you have ever worked a single job what you want to do for the rest of your life and pursuing a college degree based on that.
Yeah. That's what I like about it. You can be anybody and own income property. It doesn't have anything to do with your work. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have regular people, we have handymen. It has nothing to do with you. It's just a commonality. It's just like, I guess there is that stigma, I was going to say, with Wall Street, where you're a certain type of person when you invest in that. And I feel like it's very convenient and trendy, but it's just how many people have you actually seen it succeed for, in any real way. And if you want to keep, if you want to work hard, go to work, you can just dig a ditch. The whole point here is that you're trying to get where you're leveraging your time and your money so that you can actually enjoy your life. That's what's interesting about it in America, because when I travel, other countries have very different perspectives on how time is spent. My wife's European, and try and have a 30-minute meal. It's not going to happen. You're going to be there for 3 hours. So I think Americans have this idea that somehow you're going to work your way through the rat race, and somehow you're going to, and like I said, businesses are hard, they're unpredictable, they change. Many people that have done very well in business have just as easily seen that change overnight. And I just don't see real estate changing with an app. All of a sudden you're going to be able to, until there's like a force field that you can just walk around with and you can sleep in it, there's always going to be this need for a physical house and a physical location. To some extent, and everything that goes along with it. So
that force field thing does kind of sound nice.
Pretty nice, though. I could go for that. But would it be translucent?
Maybe we should think about
start doing that. Yeah, crowdfund it. And we want to keep you updated with any changes in the market. I mean, there's a lot of things that are disruptive technologies and in empowering technologies, like crowdfunding is something that's just changing this year. And there's also a lot more of a dynamic of, I've seen a lot of, what are they called, RIAs? Yeah, not RIAs, REITs. We've seen a lot of REITs starting to come up again. And
Real estate investment trusts,
I think the point that
very popular.
you were saying earlier that, maybe the biggest thing that you could take from this is that maybe it's best for you to control your destiny and to actually be hands-on with your investments, where you can't be with companies. Like, you can't actually go in that company and know all the inside baseball.
Exactly. I mean, you can learn how to read their quarterly statements and stuff
Assuming
like that.
they're true.
Assuming they're true, absolutely. I mean, you don't know what they're putting out. How many businesses have been called out on that and completely folded up overnight?
Well, I always look at it,
No.
well, they say, check their resume and all this, and it's like, well, Bernie Madoff was the head of NASDAQ. Like, you can't get more of a better resume than that, and yet,
Right, yeah.
the problem was, he was doing it to the wrong type of people, and they got angry about it, So the idea is, I would say
That's
being
true.
a direct investor is obviously the smartest way to go about it, even when it comes to like gold and silver or other things. You can do those in some sort of COMEX system, but it's incredibly risky in the sense that if anything changes, like we've had bullion confiscated in the past and stuff like that. So being a direct investor is a fantastic way to re-empower yourself, and you may not want to do that all the time. And there's also levels of it. You don't have to do everything. You can outsource some of it, or you can outsource all of it. And there's a lot of different layers to that. You can actually do it on an a la carte basis. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And now it's never been easier with. There's a service that one of our guys was using that is it's like a TaskRabbit system, and so basically he paid somebody to just like $15 to go take pictures and make sure his property was okay because he was out of state for a month or whatever. And it's like